Okay, so what we want to be able to do today is take all those key features that we've been working on for the past week and now actually graph this, draw a sketch of the graph without graphing it on the calculator. All right, so you're going to start with your max or your mins here. So I have a min at -2, -9. So remember, a minimum has to open like this. Okay, a max would open like this. So at that point, -2, -9, I'm going to draw something like that. All right, so let's start with that. So go to your graph, and you're going to plot -2, -9. Okay, so here's -2, right? -2 and -9. And so at -2, -9 right here, it's a min, so it'll be like this. All right, so now let's take a look at what else we have. So I'm going to move the graph down, but my writing will stay. All right, so I'll move it back. All right, so now I have my roots. My roots are at -5 and 1. All right, so what I want to look at here is how it's going to cross the x-axis. That's the multiplicity. So look at -5 and at 1, my multiplicity is odd. So remember, when the multiplicity is odd, it's going to cross the x-axis at -5 and +1. All right, I also have these x intercepts, all right, and my y-intercept at 0, -5. All right, so I'm going to plot those next. All right, so let me put this back here. All right, so I have roots at -5 and 1, -5 and 1. All right, so here and here, those are my roots. And remember what I said, it's going to cross. So I'm going to put these two lines here. So it's going to cross at those lines. And I have a y-intercept at 0, -5. So plot 0, -5. So 0, -5. Plot that point right there. All right, so now what I want to look at also is how it's either increasing or decreasing. So you want to look at this right here. All right, so as x comes from -infinity to -2, it's a decreasing from -infinity to -2. All right, so let's move the graph back. So from -infinity, so that's coming from over here, -infinity, I have to be decreasing, so I'm going to be up here someplace, to -2, which is going to be down at here. So it's going down, it's decreasing. Okay, and it's going to curve up. I should have went right through there, though. Okay, so it's decreasing. It's going down from -infinity to -2. It's decreasing. Okay, so remember, decreasing goes down. And then I have from -2 to infinity, it's increasing. So from -2, okay, and I have to, this is my right here, it has to cross there. That's my y-intercept, and it's got to hit here. It's got to cross at that point too. And now it's increasing like this. So remember, I was increasing from -2 to +infinity. So my graph is this red parabola. It's a sketch of the graph. Your graph should look better than mine because I'm using the my iPad, so hopefully yours looks a little bit nicer than mine. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so let's take a look at the next graph. So I have a few things going on here. I have a min at 0, 0. I have a max at -1.41, 8, and another max at 1.41, 8. All right, so remember, a min will go this way, maxes go that way. So you want to plot those first, okay? All right, so I'm going to move my graph up. Okay, so I have a min at 0, 0. So here's 0, 0. min, so it's going to go like that. It's going to go up here. All right, and then I have a max at negative 1.41, comma 8. So here's negative 1, here's negative 2, and I need 8. And there's 8. Just going to fix this here. All right, so it's going up here at 0, 0. All right, so then I have a max at negative 1.41. So I'm just going to put a little mark here. Negative 1.41, comma 8. So that's going to be up here someplace. And that is a max, so that's going to be coming down from that point. And at 1.41, so it's going to be over here, comma 8. So put it right about there. And that's also going to be coming down. All right, so now I also have my roots at negative 2, 0, and 2. So let's mark those on the graph. So my roots are at negative 2, 0, which I already have, and 2. Now I would want to look at my multiplicity to see at my roots, how is it crossing the x-axis? All right, so look at your multiplicity here. So the multiplicity is even. So that means at negative 2 and 2, since the multiplicity, at 0, since the multiplicity is even, that means it's bouncing off. It's tangent to the x-axis. That's why I have that min there. And at negative 2, 2, my multiplicity is odd. That means it's going to cross the x-axis at 2 and negative 2. And I also have my y-intercept at 0, 0. All right, so now let's take a look at the increase and the decrease, and so I can figure out how to graph this. So my graph is increasing from negative infinity to negative 1.41. I'm increasing. So let's go back to the graph. So since it's increasing, okay, and I have to cross here, all right, my graph is increasing. That means it has to be coming up. So it's going to come up through negative 2. It's going to come up to my min like this. Okay, so now my graph is increasing here. Okay. All right, so let's see what's next. So here my graph is decreasing from where I stopped, from negative 1.41 to 0. My graph is going to decrease, so it's going to come down to 0. All right, so my graph now is going to start coming down. It's going to decrease down to 0. Okay, so there's my decrease here from negative 1.1 to 0. And let's go back up. And now my graph is going to increase from 0 to 1.41. So now my graph is going to increase here. See, my graph now is increasing from 0 to 1.41. And now, the last thing is my graph is going to decrease from 1.41 to infinity. Okay, so from here, my graph, and it's got to cross at 2. All right, so that's one of my roots. So it's got to come down and cross at 2 like this. And notice now my graph is decreasing from 1.41 to infinity. All right, so let's try the next one. Problem 3 is next. Okay, so let's take a look at problem number 3. Notice I have a minimum here at 0, 0, so min's going to go this way. And then I have a max at this right here, 2.67, comma 9.48, so it's going to go like that at that number. All right, and I'm also at the same time, I'm going to just put my points on my roots where it crosses the x-axis or hits the x-axis at 0 and 4. All right, so let's do that. Okay, so at 0, 0, I have a min. So it's going to go like that at 0, 0. And then I have a max at 2.67. So here's 1, 2, 3. And I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is up here. All right, so I have a max at 2.67, comma 9.48. So I have a max right over in here. So that's going to come down at that point right there. All right, so I also had my roots were at 0, 0, which is this one right here, and at 4. So it's going to cross the x-axis or hit the x-axis at 4 here. All right, so let's take a look at how our graph is moving. So first let's look at my multiplicity. So my multiplicity at x is 0, that's even. That means it's going to touch the axis once. It's going to be tangent to the x-axis. And at 4, my multiplicity is odd, which means it's going to cross the x-axis at 4. All right, now let's take a look at this, my increasing and decreasing. So I am decreasing from negative infinity to 0. All right, so let's start with that. From negative infinity to 0. Okay, I'm decreasing. That means I have to be coming down to 0. I have to be decreasing. So it's got to be coming from up here someplace. So it's coming down, decreasing. All right, so this is decreasing from negative infinity to 0. And then from 0, so look here, from 0 to 2.67, I'm increasing. Okay, so now I'm increasing from here to 2.67, which is right up there. Okay, so now I'm going to increase. So I'm increasing there. So see, I'm going up, increasing. And now the last thing is, since I'm at my max, I should be coming down. I should be decreasing. Yes, notice here I'm decreasing from 2.67 to infinity. I am decreasing. Okay, so from 2.67, and I have to hit my x-intercept. It has to cross at 4 because my multiplicity was odd there. So it has to come down. It has to cross at 4 and look like that. And notice that I'm decreasing to positive infinity. Okay, so let's take a look at the last problem here. I have a max at negative 2, 0, a min at negative 0.89, comma, negative 9.16. I have another max here at 0.89, comma, 9.6, and then another min at 2.0. So I want to plot those first. So let's, all right, so I'm plotting those. Okay, so unfortunately I cut my graph off a little bit at the bottom. All right, so let's plot the points here, our maxes and mins. So I have a max at negative 2, comma 0. So here's negative 2, negative 1, 1, 2. Max at 2, 0. So it's going to be coming down like that. I have a min at negative 0.89. Negative 0.89. And 9.16. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's 9, so I cut it off a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit lower than that. Okay, so right down here. So I have a min. So we'll put it right here. So min, like it'll go up like that. And then I have another max at 0.89, comma 9.16, that's up here. So here's 9. Here's 9, so it's a little bit higher than that. So I have a max here. And then I have a min at 2.0, 20. So I have another min here. Okay. All right, so my roots are at -2, 0, so it's probably a cross there, and at 2. So notice that it's tangent to the x-axis. Tangent to the x-axis here and here, because those are my max or mins. So that means I have to cross the x-axis at 0. All right, so let's take a look at where it's increasing and decreasing here. Okay, so let's see. It is increasing from -infinity to -2. It's increasing. Okay, so let's go back to our graph. All right, so from I'm sorry. Trying to move the paper. All right, so from -infinity to -2, I'm increasing. So I have to be coming from the bottom and going up to increase to get to this point right here. Okay, so I'm coming up, I'm increasing. All right, this is an increase here. All right, and then I'm not going to move the paper again, so you have to look at your paper. So I'm decreasing from -2, so look back up at increase, decreasing. So from -2, here to -8.9, which is down here, I'm decreasing, so I have to come down here, which makes sense. All right, so that's decreasing here. And then look back up at your increase, decrease. So from here now, right, from here, I have to increase. Now, when I increase up to 0.89, which is all the way up here at the top, notice that I have a 0 at 0. So I have to cross this, so it's going to be pretty tight in here. So when you graph this, it's going to be pretty tight. It's going to go up like this and go all the way up to my max. And then, so this was an increase in here, increasing. And now from 0.89 to 2, I am decreasing. So I'm coming down, decreasing here. All right, that's a decrease there. And then from here, I have to go back up and increase. And that's an increase there. All right, so that's it. I know it's kind of hard to do this on the tablet, so we'll practice some more in class. Hopefully your graphs look much better than mine. All right, so I'll see you guys tomorrow in class. Have a good night.